Welcome to the Lean Life podcast, where holistic nutrition meets deep healing and soul-level wellness. This is a space where we connect mind, body, and spirit, where lean means shedding the layers, returning to who you truly are, and nourishing yourself from the inside out. I'm Lauren Ahola, your host and holistic registered dietitian with over a decade of experience, and I've learned that real healing goes far beyond food. It's emotional, spiritual, and deeply personal. If you're ready to go deeper, reconnect with yourself, and truly lean into all that you are, you're in the right place. Let's do this. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we have a fun episode for you. It's about my pregnancy journey so far. So as I am recording this, I am 25 weeks pregnant right now, and I know this episode won't apply to everybody, but whether you're interested in learning more about pregnancy, trying to conceive, currently pregnant, or know somebody that is pregnant or trying to conceive, I encourage you to share because I'm going to be sharing a lot about my journey, but then also add in some real life nutrition tips of what I've been doing to support myself during this journey. So yeah, let's just get into it. So that is it. I am 25 weeks pregnant, and you might have seen that on social media, or I've been sharing with people since about 10 weeks that I've been pregnant slowly, but we made a public announcement a couple weeks ago. So that feels good. It's hard to hide it from people, especially now since I'm starting to show more. So I'm just going to break this episode down into just from the beginning. We'll start from there of when I found out I was pregnant and just go through each phase of how I'm feeling now. And so kind of a wild story of how I found out I was pregnant. My boyfriend and I had talked about, trying to have kids or thinking about starting a family maybe in a year or so. And we started to have more real conversations over the summer and especially during our Thanksgiving trip to Florida. We've been going to Florida for Thanksgiving for the past few years, and that's been so fun. And I was just, in Florida having a great time and was drinking margaritas by the beach, and just kind of life-wise, we had some real deep conversations about having kids, and we started talking to his mom about that. And on Thanksgiving Day, my sister told my family again that she is pregnant. And for my sister, this, I guess it's kind of a shock, but also not really. This will be her third child, and between her and her husband, this will be their sixth kid. So we're all like, oh my God. I was like, I can't believe she's going to have another kid. But little did I know that I was pregnant the entire time that I was pregnant too. So I like to call that my last hurrah kind of trip of just having fun and being free and enjoying my life. This will be a whole new sense of fun and freedom. But yeah, just thinking about those past times of life before and life now, it just feels different. And yeah, we ran a 5K on Thanksgiving, and it's Florida, so it was a little hotter, but it was at 7 a.m. and not so hot. But I guess I had some little signs along the way that I was pregnant and didn't even really pay attention. But during that race, my face got so red. It's never been that red during a run, and it lasted all day. My boyfriend called me Robo Red Face, which was hilarious. But yeah, so that was probably a sign. And then I had some normal light cramping. My period was supposed to come at the end of the week. And I just assumed, this is how I always feel. This is normal. But then on the plane ride back was when I just had this weird inner feeling or maybe knowing of oh, this feels weird. As we were descending, no, that's what you say, ascending. As we were taking off, going into the air, I felt the weirdest thing. There was something else or someone else in my stomach. And as we landed, I got so nauseous, but I just kind of wrote it off. I'm okay, I'm just really tired. We had a fun week. But then when I got home during that week, I still had kind of the light cramping. I was a day or so late for my period, and I had met with my therapist, and we talked for about an hour about everything else. And at the end, I dropped a slight comment. I was and by the way, I feel kind of weird. Maybe I'm pregnant, but I know that I'm not. And she was well, just take a test. And I was okay, no big deal. I'm just going to take a test. And took one the next day, which was December 4th, the last full moon of the year, obviously. full moons, and just you'll learn along this podcast that I'm very spiritual and into anything involving like astrology, full moons, spirituality readings. It just brings like a different sense of life and peace for me and deeper understanding. And I was also born on a full moon, so I've been told full moons are a really big deal for me. But yes, I found out on the last full moon of 2025 and almost had a slight panic attack. I was like, okay, this is amazing and I'm so excited. But I think anytime you see something like that when you're not fully planning it, is like, oh my gosh, like this is real. It took me a little bit to process. I took the day to process myself and then told my boyfriend, and he took it so well, which really gave me a nice peace of mind. But we decided to kind of keep it private until we had gone to our first appointment, because during that time, my personal gynecologist, who I love, who is so amazing and holistic minded, had retired. And I was like, okay, well, this is perfect timing, because who do I call? So I went down the list of people that she had recommended, and South Shore Medical Center in Plymouth was close by. They answered right away. The nurses talked me down for like 45 minutes. So that was really, really helpful just to have someone to talk to about it. And they got me in as a new patient really quick. But, and I'm sure all you new moms know this or experience your first pregnancy, it's like, we don't know what we're doing. And you just book an appointment. I'll see you when you're, 9 to 10 weeks pregnant. I was like, great, I'm only 4 weeks. You just want me to like wait here for the month? Like, what do I do? But all is well. But during that time of just that waiting period and this being my first not really knowing, I was like, I just want to take this all really internally, and just kind of went into more this like surrender and trust mode, which was really, really powerful for me. And I think if knowing me on a personal level, I definitely can be an overthinker, or sometimes get in my head, or anxious person, or create all these problems. But sometimes when really big things happen and I really know like I'm just doing the best that I can and it's out of my control, it almost brings me more peace. So it was actually like a really beautiful time for me just to go more within, and taught me a lot of lessons of surrender and control. And I think, you read things about first trimester and sharing, when do you share, and, what if this happens? So I really decided I'm not going to look too much into that. And I'm just going to surrender to the process and trust that I'm just doing the best I can. And that has been a big theme that I've carried with me that has been really, really helpful for healing a lot of my life, because there's so much that isn't in our control, especially with our changing bodies and growing a baby and reading into the what ifs of this could happen or that could happen, or people want to share their stories. But I've just been really coming back to, when I go to those places of, okay, all I can do is take it day by day, just be in the moment and know that I'm just doing my best and that my body is amazing and it's meant to do this. And easier said than done sometimes, because you actually have to like really believe that. But I did take a lot of time more to myself during that period, which was really, really nice, just to keep it private and special. And I will say too that just leading up to that in the summer, so I got pregnant when I was 36. I'm 37 now, and she will be born when I am 37. And I think, you can start to get in our heads a little bit, especially from society and, hearing that you're a geriatric pregnancy past 35 or it's going to be hard. And I just really try not to believe too much of that stuff too much. And as we were talking about having kids, I really wanted to just kind of settle in, like, does this feel right for me? And over the summer, I came across this girl, Christina McGlinchey, who does a lot of spirit baby things, and was like, she has a free class. Like, let me just do this. And it was all about kind of connecting with like a spirit baby of, do they want to come into this life? And it was a fun course for me. I sat with it. I felt some connections through meditation. It wasn't super clear for me, though, of I know this soul and they're going to come in. And, it more just felt like, okay, you just need to surrender and trust. If you're meant to have kids, you'll have kids. If not, you're going to live a really beautiful life too. And I really, really had come to that point. And then just after I kind of settled on that, as when she came in, what I've really come to believe now is that babies arrive when they are ready, when they want to come, not when you are ready. And for somebody who likes a lot of control and planning, that can be a challenging thing. And seeing my sister's journey and having her son when she was 17 has just reminded me of that we're all on our own journeys, are all in our own time, and that babies are too. And that they're their own soul, which is so crazy to think. I love thinking about that, of how I have this baby and soul growing inside of me, and like, what will she be like, is really just cool to think about and amazing. And so it's been a big journey of just letting go and surrendering so far. And I guess a little more background of why that is throughout my life, and you guys might know from some other things I've said on the podcast that I've had a lot of hormonal imbalances and history of lost periods and menstrual cycles since, I was 14. I had to see a dietitian because I lost my period, and just healing, and eating a little more. It came back relatively quick at that point. And then I was on birth control from ages 18 to 30, pretty much straight through, and came off at age 30 and didn't get my period back for 2 years. And during that time, being only 30 years old, I did so much testing and saw so many healers. And my first Dutch test I did, which got me into the Dutch testing, which is a dried urine and saliva test, which gives a much more deeper background of your hormones and how you metabolize them and how you process them. Well, at age 30, mine came back pretty much all flatlined, looking like I was in menopause. And it makes sense. I was not eating enough. I was exercising too much. I needed more body fat. And to balance out my stress levels, my cortisol, so much of it. And I also went to many healers along the way and heard the terms infertile. They looked at some of my charts and my birth chart and told me it would be very hard for me to have kids. And I just, deep down had these beliefs of, okay, maybe this is my path and maybe this is going to be hard for me. And going into this and not really trying has been quite a miracle. And I do really believe our bodies have such an ability to heal ourselves. And I will be going into a much more in-depth episode on trying to conceive and tips for that, of what have helped me behind the scenes. So we won't go too much that into today, but this is, I think, a big reason why that she was such a miracle surprise, and knowing that I am over 35, right? So just if you can resonate with any of these things, or you're feeling any of this, or people have said things to you, try not to listen to it. Try not to take it in. Your body's strong, it's smart, and is so capable of healing itself. So yeah, if that inspires you a little bit. And the month before I got pregnant, my October period was absolutely just kind of crazy. It felt off. I didn't feel like myself. I had more breakouts. I was late. I thought maybe I was heading into perimenopause. And now I think, the body is just shifting and preparing for something a little different. So yeah, let's get into a little bit more of my trimesters and how I felt. And then I want to share some nutrition tips and how I'm supporting myself along the way. So that's just a little background of how it happened. And so first trimester, I found out exactly about 4 weeks pregnant and really started to I felt pretty normal at that point. Just a little out of body of oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then symptoms really hit me pretty hard around week 6, starting with more nausea, especially in the middle of the night. That was the first. And then it just turned into all day nausea. I never threw up, but the term morning sickness, I feel, needs to be labeled as just all day sickness. And I know everybody can have different levels, and, the constant vomiting for people I really, really feel for. So luckily, that wasn't me, but it did make it really hard. The nausea was the worst for me. Also experiencing much more exhaustion, tired, bloated, constipated, and food aversions were things that I experienced, all of them. And I will say now that I have a whole new meaning of survival mode for people, of just working with nutrition and helping people make diet changes and lifestyle changes, and sometimes coming up with these plans of just get going, get started. You can do all these things, right? But sometimes life throws us things, and I have a deeper understanding for that now when it gets really hard or we really don't feel well mentally, physically. Sometimes there's periods of life that you just do what you can do. And during this time too, I think a lot of women can put pressure on themselves of, oh my God, I'm carrying a baby. I have to be perfect. Or what if I do something wrong and I mess it up? But I will say, if you're taking care of yourself before, your body has a lot of stores and nutrients. And it's just for the first couple of weeks that you just do the best you can and know that your baby is going to be fine. And that's what I've been saying to myself. And so this was during Christmas time for me. And it actually worked out pretty well because during Christmas and New Year's, nobody really wants to come and talk nutrition. I had a couple clients, but it was very chill. I spent most of my days in bed until about 11 a.m. And all I wanted to do was eat bagels. I think I got like 3 different kinds of bagels. And I did try to pair them with protein though. Bagels and peanut butter were a big thing. And I watched so much TV and just relaxed. My boyfriend loved it. He was like, I love this version of you. And it would have been hard to hide that from other people. Like me not drinking is very common. So during the holidays and whatnot, I hadn't really told people. And no one really questioned that. And I tried my best to eat what was available and what was there. But if they were to like really watch me eat and look at how disgusted I was with vegetables, they would have really questioned what was going on. But I will say that went away. And it was just a season of life that I learned a lot from. So it didn't last for me too long, though, because I kind of got myself out of it. Here are some things that helped. If you're in your first trimester, know somebody who is, just let them know. If they're in the trenches, they're going to come out of it. And here are some things they could do that maybe get them out of it a little quicker. I started to feel better around like week 10, definitely by week 11. And it could have just been, my timing of things. But I also knew that at this point, I was so sick of feeling this way that I was just forcing myself to try to do better. And regardless of what, giving into just what I wanted to do or foods that sounded good, I'm like, okay, let's just try to shift this. And so a big thing was trying to just eat regular meals, right? If we're not eating enough, the nausea can be so much worse. So even if I wasn't so hungry, I just forced myself to sit down and try. And a lot of times things would look so gross, but if I could get myself to eat them, then they weren't so bad. And so that's what got me. I was like, okay, this really isn't that gross. I'm eating it. It's not making me feel sick. And I'm actually feeling better after. And I did try to prioritize some kind of protein with all my meals and snacks versus just the simple carbs. And as hard as it was, because sometimes it looked gross, it really, really helped. And because just eating like just a bagel or just crackers would not stabilize your blood sugar, make it go high, get hungry quick. And it's just that constant cycle of like hunger, nausea, not fun. And at that time too, cooking was really hard for me. I hardly cooked for those first couple weeks at all. And I love to prep food from home and meal prep, and that just wasn't happening. So I gave myself some grace. I did a lot more takeout and took whatever my boyfriend would bring back, or, had some weird requests of like grilled cheese or chicken fingers and fries. But I quickly learned that those foods, as much as they sounded good, just made me feel worse. So avoiding the heavy, greasy takeout around towards the end of my first trimester really, really helped as well. And so let's talk about night snacking too, because I think it's suggested for a lot of women to keep snacks by their bed at night when you're pregnant, which makes sense because it helps with the nausea, especially that morning nausea. And a big thing for me is I kept protein bars by my bed and would eat them at night. And if I woke up in the middle of the night with nausea, or in the morning before I woke up. And I wouldn't finish the whole thing, but even a couple of bites and knowing I was just getting some protein and carbs, if something was balanced, that would be really helpful. I tried a little bit of the crackers, but they digested too quick and just weren't enough for me. So to have something like that was really helpful. So I suggest keep something with a little protein, easy to digest by your bed. And if you're like me, and I'm not a night eater, I don't wake up to night snack, but getting that awful nausea feeling, it's a sign you need to eat something. So that would be my suggestion there. I had friends, that stored mini muffins in their cabinets or things like that. And everybody I hear has their different pregnancy cravings. But for me, I'm like, let's try to get something, that's going to actually hold me over. And that helped. Hydration was huge. I'm definitely big into hydrating anyways, but water was kind of gross. So I'd have to kind of force myself to drink enough. And that even made me feel a little nauseous. But getting in electrolytes once a day was a priority of mine as well. So brands I liked, Element Tea and Ultima. I did and have been doing a little more of the Element Tea just for my blood pressure purposes. It's a little higher in sodium, and continuing to check my blood pressure, which is obviously important in pregnancy because that can shift at any time. Mine generally runs on the lower side. So a little more sodium water can be helpful to keep your blood pressure up. And then the other big thing that really helped me was just letting go of that perfect nutrition, that idea that I need to be perfect and eat perfect for this baby, because I don't want to carry that on to her either of, because what even is perfect? And a big thing I've been thinking a lot during this whole pregnancy is my relationship with food and knowing I'm growing this soul and she's picking up on everything that I'm feeling and thinking and eating, and as best as I can to just not bring that on her of that she needs to be perfect and eat perfect. And so it's giving myself a little more just grace in that area and just trying my best. And so here's kind of like a sample day of what I would eat on my first trimester or was eating. So maybe in the morning if I needed to, wake up, couple bites of a protein bar before getting out of bed, just because a little something in your stomach helps. And then for breakfast, I was doing a lot of bagels and peanut butter, wheat bagel, cinnamon raisin, plain, everything, you name it. Bagels and peanut butter were kind of my thing. But eggs were also a big thing that I forgot to mention, that eggs have been actually, I know a lot of people, they can really, really gross out. But for me, they've been super helpful, easy to cook. They might not especially in first trimester, be super fun to cook. But with the choline and protein, and I found them super easy to digest. So I'd often do eggs with half a bagel or, and even trying to do as many as I could, at least 2 to 3. They recommend 3 to 4 eggs a day for your choline levels in pregnancy. It's really hard to get them in other foods besides beef liver. And to be honest, I'm just not doing that. Maybe capsules I could do, but the thought of eating liver, especially during the first trimester, was absolutely just not happening. But yeah, I would do bagel and peanut butter, eggs and toast, or a protein smoothie. It was even hard for me to make the smoothies on my own. Fruit was always kind of okay, but putting some spinach in it was a good way for me to get in some veggies. But I will say I spent a lot of money at local juice bars, and especially Vila Juice Bar in Plymouth where I live. And that was really helpful because it was something I could kind of sip on, and if I got too full, I could stop. And just a way to get in some protein and veggies that were more challenging at that time. And lunch was a lot of takeout. I did a lot of bowls. I will say I became one of Chipotle and Cava's #1 customers. A lot of rice bowls with chicken and veggies were really easy for me to get down. And if the vegetables were mixed in something, I enjoyed them so much more versus me prepping it or eating them on their own. And so I did a ton of bowls. Don't do this now, never really cared for it. But at the time, they were working for me with chicken Caesar wraps. So I would get, a whole one from this local sub shop, eat half, and then have the other half for another meal. Smoothies or eggs were any meal. Snacks, I did a lot of protein bars, peanut butter, and the Simple Mills graham crackers. Awesome. Some fruit in there and maybe some nuts if I could handle it. But I always tried to bring snacks with me and just listen to my hunger during the day, not forcing myself to eat. But if I needed a snack to kind of get through, they were available. Dinner was whatever worked. If I had takeout, leftovers, really just something simple. But I always tried to prioritize as best as I could. Is there some kind of protein at this meal? But definitely more takeout than I've probably ever done in my life. And then before bed, I would eat maybe some peanut butter crackers or a protein bar. I love chocolate at night, but that just wasn't appealing for me at that point. Now it is. And during my first trimester, I generally really enjoy a cup of coffee and do so in moderation, but it was absolutely disgusting. So I cut coffee out and switched to green tea, which was really helpful and a much lower level of caffeine. I want to say about 15 milligrams in a cup. It's recommended 200 milligrams or less for women a day, so about a 12-ounce cup of coffee. But that was just enough to kind of get me through. And now I'm back on the coffee because I really enjoy it and it's going well with just 1 cup a day. But at that point, the green tea worked really well for me. And it's more subtle on your nervous system too. And so, yeah, we found out the gender around 10 weeks after our first appointment. And knowing we're having a girl has been super exciting. And like I said, also is bringing up things in my inner child healing, my relationship with my body and food, and not wanting to put that on her. We didn't do any big reveal. It just kept it between us. And we started telling people slowly, which has started to make it feel more real. And it was just really nice to have support from family and friends. And we didn't really share publicly until the end of March. And I think there's really no right or wrong way to do it. And so after that, heading into my second trimester, where I am at now. So I'm at the end of my second trimester, almost in my third. But I will say weeks 12 to 18 were the best for me. I felt great. I could hardly even tell I was pregnant. It was just a shift. I got my energy back. I felt like food was good again. I wanted to cook. This was definitely when I was the hungriest. And so I started to put more effort to focus on nutrition in my portions and getting in my nutrients. And I will say, I started to get a little worried too. And I know everybody shows at different times. This is my first, so probably started showing around like noticeably week 18, week 19. But before that, I was like, oh my God, I need to keep eating, make sure I'm eating enough. And I can't even tell, is she in there? And then before you know it, I was like, okay, she's doing good. We're definitely growing. And so I just really kind of decided to focus on work, focus on what I could at that point, and just really take care of myself. Like this journey has been a lot of just self-care in all ways, through food, through movement, through rest. And then we get to around week 19, 20, where I feel like this little girl has hit a big growth spurt. At my 20-week anatomy scan, she was already in the 78th percentile, which is amazing, showing that she's getting all her nutrients in, but makes sense of why I've already been feeling relatively uncomfortable. So I'm pretty short. I'm 5'1", just a small person. And around week 20, out of nowhere, what I was eating, I was like, oh my God, I can't eat this way anymore. I feel like my stomach has already shrunk and have just need to be careful about now shifting to eating more smaller portions throughout the day. And it makes sense of why I've been getting a little more heartburn and definitely some rib pain from all my organs being pushed up. But overall, I would say I'm really lucky. Everything's been going really well. It's just normal pregnancy symptoms and adjustments. And I'm just trying to take it day by day, week by week, and see my body change just from past history of eating disorders is very amazing, but is also, like I said, bringing up some things for me. And I've been noticing that, especially in the past few weeks, noticing when I really started to feel different around week 20. Now I'm week 25, like 5 weeks later, and just, she's getting bigger every week. And my clothes, now we're moving on to the rompers, and it's just bringing up these emotions of like, and it's good to bring humor to it too. And also what always helps me is coming back to realizing like how amazing my body is and how amazing the women's bodies are, of this being like exactly what we're supposed to do, that the body is meant to shift and change. But as much work as I've done, like this is still hard. And to not see your clothes fit and wondering like, will I get my body back? When will I get my body back? And it's made me realize like maybe I do put a little more worth in how I look, more than maybe I thought that I was. And there can definitely be some fears of like, oh my God, I'm just going to get bigger and bigger. And just trying to meditate and sit with that and give my body love has been really, really helpful. And to keep coming back to the questions and asking myself, like, what feels like self-love? How can I eat today? How can I move today? I may not always get it perfect, but just trusting that if I continue to do those things, that's exactly where I'm supposed to be. And really the true goal here is just to grow a healthy baby and keep myself healthy, because really the baby is going to get all your nutrients. They're going to be okay. But for you, they pull all that from you. And knowing postpartum, I'm not quite there yet, but I've been trying to, take care of myself and be mindful of that I know all the stuff that I do leading up is really, really going to help with that. Even if I show up to the gym every week and no matter what, I don't see any abs or everything gets harder. It's like, okay, I know I'm training. I'm doing this for a purpose. It's a season of life and it's amazing. So the positive self-talk and the meditations and journaling and just kind of honoring that stuff as it comes up has been really, really helpful because other things that I think about during pregnancy and has really been relative for me just going through this now is like how much is formed in the womb for all of us. Physical, like all the physical things, right? Your body, your bones, your muscles, your organs, and your nervous system, right? Of how we regulate is so connected to how your mom felt when you were in your womb. So you can even think about that is what was the state that your mother was in when she was carrying you? And I firmly believe that we all do the best that we can. But just for instance, like stories that my mom tells me is I was the first, I'm the oldest. And, her and my dad were in a really good place, really excited to have me. But she was in a state of a lot of stress when I was born. Her mother was in the hospital and almost died of cancer. And during that time, her dad had a heart attack and she had to stay and live with them. And I just can't even imagine that the stress that she was going through, as I am also, there with her at every moment, like also experiencing that stress. And I can relate. I can definitely get, my mom is amazing. She's anxious. She worries. And I can be a lot like that too. I see a lot of myself in her, along with other things. And especially just being a dietitian who's into gut health, your gut and your gut microbiome develops so much in your mother's womb. And like how you were born really can impact whether you were C-section or vaginal or breastfed or not. It's all these like really critical things that develop in such a young age. So like I said, I'm not trying to put so much pressure and be hard on myself, but I am aware of all these things. That I'm just trying to take care of myself in the best ways that I can to give her all that I can. And yeah, so, a vaginal birth is obviously my goal. I'm going to sit down with my doula team and discuss that and, come up with what feels best for me versus what I hear everybody else is doing. But there's just so many benefits of a vaginal birth, one of them being that your gut microbiome and your baby's microbiome, they're more exposed to all the good bacteria through the vaginal canal versus a C-section. And so that's something that I definitely think about and would love to be able to experience for her and myself. But who knows, right? I've come to peace with, I just got to trust and whatever happens, happens. But just in case you never have thought of those things before, right? If you're pregnant or somebody who is like just supporting them physically, emotionally, energetically, really focusing on nervous system regulation of slowing down. That's been challenging for me because I have this huge list of things that I want to do. We're trying to redo a house and, it's my first baby and I have all these plans and classes I want to take and work I want to do. And it's been hard sometimes to settle down and just like relax. But I'm realizing like that is what matters even more. I can't do all these things if I'm exhausted or running around or doing things out of fear that what if it doesn't get done. So to just sit back and take some deep breaths or some vagal nerve exercises or go to a calm yoga class or go for a walk and know that all that stuff is going to be there. Because self-care is what matters the most. I know I've said that 100 times, but that's been just a deeper reflection for me. And so what am I eating now, right? I told you guys what I'm eating in trimester 1. Now just currently in trimester 2, it's been pretty similar to this. I have had to adjust the portions based on the day, and I'm really just trying to eat more intuitively. And so for breakfast, I've been really, really loving overnight protein oats. They're so easy. I'll mix them up and I've been still using the Truvani protein. I'll do like a half a scoop with that with some peanut butter and banana or blueberries. Still loving eggs. I do that a couple times a week for breakfast, also for lunch or dinner. Usually about 3 eggs. Sometimes I mix them with sauteed veggies. I've been really loving eggs with spinach and feta. Usually a piece of toast on the side, maybe some fruit. I've been into sourdough bread and also trying to switch it up with the base culture gluten-free bread. I'll do chia seed pudding sometimes. And smoothies I've been doing on busy mornings when I need to go to the office. And in the smoothies, I've been really loving throwing all sorts of supplements in there, collagen being one of them. I've been trying to do more collagen for glycine and just growth of hair, skin, nails, supportive. It is hard for me to get in, though, if I don't do a smoothie. So that's been helpful as well. Lunch, I'm back into my meal prep, so that's been really helpful. Usually I pick like 1 or 2 things to meal prep for myself for the week. This week we did some salads with grilled chicken. I cut up a bunch of vegetables for the week. Cucumber, celery, carrots, red onion. What else do we got in there? A whole mix of stuff. And then I did some spring mix in spinach, and I really like the Primal Kitchen dressings. I'll probably toss on there either pumpkin seeds, feta, avocados, just to mix it up. And I like having all that stuff prepped so I can just like toss it together. Last week I did a lentil pasta salad. We got a pasta fagioli soup. So really I've just been trying to find things to like batch cook that make my life easier. I've definitely cut out most of the takeout. We still go out to eat like once a week or so, but that's really just for enjoyment and for fun. And it's always nice, if I have a little leftovers to take off the pressure. Snacks, I mixed it up a little bit, but still kind of similar things. I'll bring nuts to work. I've been really loving different types of fruit too. Apples sliced for some reason are just so much better than eating an apple whole for me. So I've been doing a ton of that. Still the protein bars, Go Macro, Aloha bars. I know it's not perfect, but it's just easy for me. I've been loving hummus and cucumbers, and the chopsticks have been really helpful for just like on the go snacks that don't need refrigeration. Dinner has pretty much been a protein, carb, veggie balance, maybe leftovers. Just something simple and easy. Once a week, I try to go to the fish market. I'll do salmon or cod. We live pretty close to one. So I do try to do that once a week, but I'll mix it up. Chicken, ground turkey, ground beef. I'm not really great at cooking steak, but when my boyfriend's willing to grill, we do that. I'm trying to get the iron in. So just balance. And I'm back into wanting a treat at night. So I really love the Hue Kitchen chocolate. And I'll do a square or 2 of that during the week myself. My boyfriend loves dessert, so the weekends I do allow myself a little more. And we've been doing ice cream Sundays. Not ice cream like Sundays, but ice cream on Sundays. And I'm pretty lactose intolerant, so Bee's ice cream has some great dairy-free options. And I've really just been like allowing myself to enjoy that without the guilt. And that's been a big theme that's come up of like, we'll eat the food, and as we're eating it, we might feel guilty or not even like allowing ourselves to fully have it, but to just be present with it and know like it's okay and it's an experience and I've been eating well. And that's the kind of energy I want to bring on to my daughter. And so that's kind of been my reproach is no restriction, but just try to eat balanced and get enough protein, fiber, healthy fats. Just do the best I can and be prepared. Packing lunches and snacks always really helps. And focusing on whole foods versus cutting food groups out. Like I said, I'm lactose intolerant, so I obviously don't do too much dairy because it doesn't make me feel good. But other than that, it's really been nothing off limits. I've been trying to definitely focus on the eggs because I know the benefits and I really like them. And for me, whenever I'm really full, they've been a really safe meal because it's a good amount of protein, but it doesn't feel heavy. A big thing is listening to my hunger and fullness cues. And so that, like, I personally haven't been on a GLP-1, but it's definitely making me understand that more for people because, like I said, it kind of hit me out of nowhere at week 19, 20 of like, oh my God, what I normally eat. And what my eyes are telling me to eat just isn't working. And I get that for people, right? We're so used to like eating these big portions of what they looked like our whole lives or finishing our plate or doing what, our families or society has done in comparison to like out to eat portions. And when you start to like really adjust and tune in to, well, how is my body feeling? Do I need to eat all this? Especially being on a GLP-1 where it's like that learning of like, oh my God, I just can't eat that way anymore. It's more this journey of presence and stopping when I am satisfied but not full. Because I will say when I get too full is more when the symptoms come in of the heartburn or rib pain or discomfort, hard to breathe, and that's just not fun. And so, yeah, the journey of mindfulness has been helpful and to just be conscious of if I have any food fears or patterns that are coming up. And along the way, I have been doing these things as supportive therapies. The chiropractor has been really helpful for my rib pain. and awesome. It's covered by insurance. I know chiropractic for many people in many journeys of life can be really helpful. So for women, I guess like our bodies are changing so much during pregnancy that if you're feeling discomfort, that could be something good to try. I have started seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist. I've always been more of like my pelvic floor and my hip muscles and everything super tight. I clench, and I've learned a lot of cool things so far about my body and just trying to use that as support as much as I can. I know I'm going to appreciate it along the way. So that has been really helpful. And then acupuncture I've been doing for the past like 4 years, but have kept up with that and know that that can be really supportive as well for any phase you are in your hormones. And this isn't something you have to do, but me personally, today I just came from, and it's on my mind, I've been going to Reiki. She's kind of like my therapist too. I've been going there once a month, and it feels really nice just to balance out my energy, and I can feel her move and kick, and I know that she likes it too. So anything like that, I'm just reminding myself that yes, it's busy, sometimes it's money, but I am worth it. My baby is worth it. And anything I can do to support myself along the way beyond just food is really, really helpful. And so my non-negotiables this pregnancy, what I've been doing the whole time, as much as I can through my first trimester, finding out I was pregnant up until now, these things have just been keeping me grounded. Movement. I haven't gotten too much into that today, but movement has been huge for me. Despite how nauseous I was, I just continued to move because I felt nauseous anyways, and it got me out of my head. It actually helped with my digestion too to feel better. And some days like that might have just been like a short walk or like a stretch, but I still tried to like do something. And obviously having more rest days than I normally do, for sure. It's been an adjustment of my intensity level. And just me being me, I like some kind of guidance. So I was like, I don't know. I'm, never been pregnant before. I want something to kind of guide me with exercise. So I downloaded the Moves by Madeline app, and they have had a great prenatal program that takes you through each trimester of your pregnancy with about 5 workouts per week. I don't always do all of them, but I will say I definitely have been doing at least 3 per week. And they have been great. Things you can do at home, at the gym, 30 to 40 minutes. I personally really like knowing that all the exercises are safe. And they give you some really good, even like pelvic floor tips and breathing exercises too. So that has been helpful for me. A big thing that's kept me feeling like me, time for myself, helps with digestion, energy. And I also know like birth is a marathon from what I hear. And I'm trying to keep my body, doing challenging things and being physically fit for this. And I've also been adding in walking for sure. I cannot run. I do not know how, pregnant women. I've seen running the marathon, absolutely amazing. My max is a mile maybe, but I just have to pee all the time, and it's super uncomfortable. Like anything like jumping up and down or running is just not comfortable for me. So I've been doing a lot of walking. I've not been doing hot yoga. The heat too much just doesn't really feel great for me, but I have been going to some warm classes maybe once a week if I can fit it into my schedule, and have just kind of like let go of when I will teach yoga again. I love teaching. I do it one-to-one in my office for people, but full classes, just schedule, energy, how my body's feeling, it's just not for me right now. So yeah, I would say wherever you're at in your pregnancy, just find something to move, something that makes you feel good. We already talked about hydration and electrolytes, but that's been a non-negotiable for me from the beginning. Another big one is sleep and rest. I've had earlier bedtimes. I used to go to bed and work, sometimes like stay up late finishing my notes. And then it was hard to turn my brain off and would end up staying up until like past 11. But now it's just like, I cannot do that. I am in bed by 8:55. Sometimes I may stay up, watch a show. Watching shows at night has been awesome. Great way to just like turn off my brain. And in the past, I would never like allow myself to do that. So earlier bedtimes, boundaries with work, and naps if I need them. Yesterday, we went out for a little bit and came home, and I was like, I'm going to go for a walk. I should go for a walk. I sat on the couch and I was so tired, and I took a nap. I gave myself the day to rest, and today I woke up feeling great. So just been trying to really like honor that versus like my old patterns of trying to always push through. And then like I mentioned before, things to balance my nervous system and stress levels, like the deep breathing, vagal nerve exercises, just really trying to put into perspective what's most important. Supplements that I've been taking, so a little bit different than my norm when I was not pregnant. It's simplified, and it's just put on pause some things for now, but just trying to focus on the basics. I don't want to overdo it, but also taking the things that I trust that are going to support me. And I give a lot of these to my clients too, but I've been taking the Thorn Prenatal. I love Thorn. It has a really good amount of iron in it too. My iron level has always been super low. My iron storage, to be exact, your ferritin level. So over the summer, my ferritin level was at an 11. I have not even seen it higher than 11 most of my life. And there's so much more to go into that, like gut health and, heavy periods and things like that. But I will say, over the summer, I started this new supplement called Blood Builder, and it brought my ferritin up to a 42. And your iron levels are a big part of getting pregnant too. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, is this a reason why this happened? My iron's finally normal? I don't know. It's really, really hard to say. But your iron storage is a big part of your egg quality. So I have continued to take the Blood Builder supplement. I have been taking vitamin D with K. Magnesium at night really helps with digestion, stress, and sleep, and also for some who get leg cramps. So I have continued that. I've been taking a prenatal DHA also from Thorn. I've switched to the Needed brand for my probiotic. It's a pre-probiotic. Needed is great for women who are pregnant. They have so many different lines and focus and testing on it. So I really just trusted that one. And then I also use the Needed collagen as much as I can remember. And then for support, just with history of gut issues and digestion really and hormones really slowing down your digestion in pregnancy, I have continued to take digestive enzymes at least once a day before meals, especially like going out to eat or a heavier dinner or something. And I feel like that has been pretty supportive. So everything I'm taking now is mostly vitamins and for support. And before, I'll get back to it. And I love doing this stuff with my clients still, of all the gut testing and hormone testing, and definitely will be supporting myself in any way, hair mineral analysis test, postpartum. But for now, that's all on a pause. And going into my third trimester, I have some appointments coming up, and we'll be getting, additional labs done. I definitely want to ask to get my iron repeated, looking at my vitamin D, my blood sugar. That's a big one. And that's something that I have been just considering. I'm like, do I get a continuous glucose monitor? I know a lot of women tend to say no to the glucose test around week 28. I'm definitely not going to do the conventional glucose test just from all the chemicals that are in it. I've decided I'm going to do the fresh test, so I have to order that and bring it to my appointment. But my thoughts were, knowing myself and having too much data, sometimes I can obsess. So we're going to do the fresh test, see what my blood sugar comes back like. And if I need it, I'll get a continuous glucose monitor to keep me on track, to, maybe cut out that piece of sourdough bread if that's bothering me. But I did not want to do that before to go to this place of like stressing and obsessing about what I'm eating if I didn't even need to. So that's the plan with that there. And yeah, it's been a great journey so far. We're navigating my personal birth preferences, which I would love to have my doula on here at some point. So as we get farther along, I definitely will have an episode with that. Definitely looking into vaccine schedules and pediatrician options for someone who is more open-minded. And I just, blend a little bit of science and soul and spirit into everything and don't always go the conventional route. But for me, rather than just listening to what every holistic person does, I need to listen to me. So I've been doing a lot of research there. That might be some further episodes. And what's also been really helpful is just to filter the outside opinions and stay grounded in what feels right for me, because everybody's got an opinion. Social media, even just people I see, as soon as you tell them I'm pregnant, everyone has a story. And some are great stories, some are horror stories. And I just really, you don't know what's going to happen. So for me, it's been helpful to just put some limits on that and kind of keep coming back to myself and how I feel in the moment and staying present. And yeah, so what's ahead? I got my baby shower coming up, some registry stuff, but that was a hard one. If you got any ideas of what babies might need, I know I just mentioned it's like a lot and sometimes people have opinions, but always down to hear. We might be planning a little getaway before the baby comes. We'll be moving. And then work stuff has been a lot on my mind as well of, maternity leave, taking some time off and knowing that that's okay. We're going to roll with it. I've been loving my work. I know it's what I'm meant to do. I'm sure having a baby will shift my perspective in a lot of ways, but I'm excited for the break and then to get back to everybody. But I'll be here. My plan is to tentatively work until the beginning of August, and then we'll see what happens. And yeah, I just wanted this episode today to kind of be open and vulnerable with you guys and share what's working for me. I feel like sharing stories is one of the best ways to really just connect because even if we know things, even if I have been a nutritionist forever or worked with pregnant people, it is so much. It is just so different going through it on your own. And the more that I learn about my body, myself, being a mother, the more that I have to share with others. So I really just want to continue to be open and share as I go along this journey. If you have questions about anything we discussed today, if you're pregnant, trying to be pregnant, have friends, don't hesitate to reach out. I love connecting with and people in the community, in the area, and just thank you so much for listening. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Lean Life podcast. Your support truly means everything. If you loved this episode, the best way to support the show is to leave a review, subscribe, or share it with someone you care about. If you want to go deeper, I work with clients one-to-one through intuitive functional nutrition, both locally on the South Shore of Boston and online. You can always reach out, ask questions, or connect with me. I'd love to support you. Sending you love, balance, and a reminder to lean into all that you are. I'll see you in the next episode.